I've been at this property tax issue since 2015. How I started was I looked at my own property tax bill. 10 years in the house, the property taxes went up 40%. Right away I said, this is not sustainable. Don't price me out of my home. So what I did, now that I'm retired, I said, how do I give back to the community? It's basically, we're not trying to make money. We're not running for office. We live by the biblical principles of love thy neighbor. It's a commandment, not a suggestion. So that's what motivates us three to do that. And I can tell you, all of us have been deceived and continue to be deceived. You think that the Ohio legislators really care about you? They don't. I saw a senator, happened to be at a fundraiser. I said, I'd like to talk to Jerry about the property taxes. He said, you know, Brian, now that the values have gone up, now is the time for seniors to sell their home and move into an apartment. I looked at him, I said, you mean, if I've raised my family in this home for 40 years, I got all the memories, everything, and you want me now just to sell it and move into an apartment that I can't even afford to rent? Leonard and I went down, we spoke to the Ways and Means Committee. We said to them, if you stay on this path of ever-increasing property taxes, you're going to price seniors and those living on fixed income out of their homes. No question. I've been saying that for a long time in Lake County. I go to all the commissioner meetings, and what I do for the people in Lake County, I go and I record. I take my cameras and I record. I taught myself how to edit film, and so instead of watching an hour meeting, they may only watch 10, 15 minutes at most. So it is a challenge, but we think it's worth it. We went to the committee for property tax review and reform. Leonard and I spoke there. I was speaking, and I found out later that they censored my speech. What they did was they played over what I was saying. It was classical music, and then they edited me out completely. Now when I contacted them, they said it was a glitch. So what was I saying that was so bad? I said to them that the Willoughby East Lake School District in Lake County, one of 9 school districts, they were going to receive $8 million from the taxpayers because of the sexennial revaluation without a vote of the taxpayers. That was not said. I've been saying that for, let's see, probably January of 2024. I've been saying that, and people said, oh, Brian, you're crazy. That'll never happen. They're going to get their tax bills coming up in a couple of weeks, and they're going to be paying $210 just for the school, $210 per $100,000 market value without a vote. So you got a $300,000 house, not uncommon these days. That's $600, and you don't get a chance at sale. Here's another deception. I first used to have presentations talking about inside millage and House Bill 920 and 20 mil floor and all of that, but I could see after 10 minutes everybody's eyes were glazing over, and I said, we've got to take a different approach on that. First of all, inside millage is unvoted, and that is in the Ohio Constitution and the Ohio Revised Code. And they say they're not supposed to charge you any more than 10 mils. 1 mil is 0.001. 10 mils equals 1% of your property value. Here's where they deceived you though. It's in the Ohio Constitution, so therefore we must have voted for it. But I contend we don't know what we're voting on. We really don't. In fact, someone once told me, and I picked up on this, and it was absolutely crazy. When they go to the ballot box and vote for a levy, they cannot think that I vote for that levy, that increases my property taxes. That's pretty scary. Pretty scary. But the deception played by the legislators is that they said it's the inside millage is only 10 mils, but when they go to the outside millage for a school district, if a school district started at 30 mils, it was passed, and every year when there's increase in values, the effective rate, the 30 mils, keeps going down. So if my inside millage is 5, and as this effective tax rate for my outside, my voted millage, that gets to 15. The 5 for inside and the 15 for outside, that's the 20 mil floor. So my outside millage, this is what gets us, that's treated like inside millage. So that's where the schools get the big increase. And I'm saying, if it's treated like inside millage, it's inside millage. I don't care what the legislators call it. They've deceived us. Pure and simple. Because they are worried about the donor class. I have on video, we had Ron Young, who was a commissioner and also was a state representative in Lake County. He asked me on his last day in the job as a commissioner, he said, "Brian, would you record me?" I said, "Sure." So I recorded him. I think he had a come to Jesus moment, because what he said was, there's 2 top priorities of government: to protect itself and grow. 2 top priorities of any politician: to protect themselves and get reelected. No mention of what is in the best interest of we the people. I thought that I have played that over and over again so that people understand that. You know, we're at the federal level, we got Trump in. That's great. But I didn't vote for a king, and I'm also saying that we, the people at the local level, must get engaged. We cannot just let the legislators control our lives. That's my house. You can't get it. And I'm not moving to an apartment. I'm not doing it. Another example how they deceived us. You got any vocational schools here in the area? Mm-hmm. All right. Per the Ohio Revised Code, their maximum is 2 mils that they can collect. The problem is that 2 mils is not subject to House Bill 920. Remember House Bill 920, if the values go up, the effective rate goes down? No. So what the legislators did, they created this outside voted millage, but we're going to treat it like inside millage. So that's the, when you don't understand it, and 10 years ago, I was in the same boat, but I don't understand that. And I'm still learning. Here's what I just learned in the last, this week. I looked at what was happening in my district, and I projected, I said, I think I'm going to be paying $1,500 more. I'm paying $9,100 right now. I got to pay an extra $1,500. I said, it's crazy. My house value went up 10%. Most of my neighborhood went up 30–35%. So here's how the system works. Instead of paying $1,500, I got a reduction of $230. I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. So I went to the auditor. Explain it to me. I need to understand. And well, first of all, he said, well, the Riverside School District, they weren't at the 20 mil floor, so they don't get treated like inside. I said, where'd they end up? They were at 20.00004. So I said, well, that's a great news. But what happens is your property value is a percentage of the total value in your taxing district. Your taxing district is made up of the county tax, your municipality, wherever you live, whether it's a township or city, and it's a school. So those are, and I looked at my, and I would guess that you're probably paying more than 30 property tax levies. I'm paying 35 tax levies in my taxing district. I think that's probably generally true in all of them. The most I saw was something like 40 individual levies. So, back to my story. In 2023, I was paying, the $9,100, and my percentage was a certain percent. Don't remember the exact. It was a small percentage of the total. But as my neighbors went up 30, 35%, and I only went up 10%, my overall value of my new value of my home is now a lower percentage than the total. And I said, that's really interesting. Very interesting. The system is too complex. Far too complex. No one even knows what a mill is. Inside and outside millage. Now, why do you think that is? You think they want you to understand it? So why do we put up with it?
Because we don't understand it.
Yeah, but I'm guilty too. We're sheep. We're just sheep and letting them dictate. When John was talking about the company that does evaluation, I don't know how they do it in Lincoln County, but in Lake County, they have an outside appraiser. I was thinking about this, and I said, wait a minute. We've got an outside appraiser that's controlling my destiny, but he's not accountable to me. I said, how does that work? Because when we try to go to the appraiser and say complain about this and that, they just don't tell us anything. And then you go to the auditor, it's up to this is all proprietary software. This is ridiculous. So what we are going to do, I'll just wrap it up with this, and I'll answer any questions if you have any. Since I'm going to save this, since I have the ability to edit, I'm not going to let the legislators know. No one likes me in Lake County. I'm the most hated man in Lake County. I build myself. Democrats, Republicans, Libertarian, whatever, because I expose it. I expose it. We believe in honesty, integrity, and transparency in government. Well, we get that because we expose the lies, deceptions, and the betrayals. They don't like it. And I look at them and say, I really don't care. I just don't care. So what we're going to do, the goal is this, and we've just come up with this in the last 48 hours, 70. We've been talking about it for a while, but we're trying to crystallize our thought. And we heard some input from a commissioner, Commissioner Plechnik, and he was very kind, and he stood up in Lake County and he said there should be no taxes on 65 and above, no property taxes. We said, wow, we're okay with that. He said, unrealized gains, we should freeze or at least cap them. But if I spend $100,000 on the home and it's now worth $300,000, why am I paying tax on $300,000? That's the unrealized gain. You don't do it on your stocks. And he said, well, Brian, just make sure that you mention that to people, because that's what Kamala Harris wanted on your stocks. They want to charge you on unrealized gains. We want to present that to our legislators because we know they're probably not going to accept that. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to expose that. They don't want to help seniors, right? Then what we'll do is, John Marr did a great job on the presentation of the property taxes for schools. All right, we'd like to see them gone the first year, but we would be agreeable to take 20% a year. If they don't like that either, then we're going to have a constitutional amendment that's signed by 412,000 Ohioans. We're going to eliminate the property taxes. So that's the three-pronged approach. We had Jennifer Gross, she was on a podcast. She is a representative, nice lady, from I think a little north of
Butler.
Is it Butler? Butler?
Right around Butler, southeast of Ohio.
Okay. And she was on the podcast, and this is the Ohio Political News every Sunday night. And she said, what I can't do is I cannot have any carve-outs. So this idea of protecting the seniors, she wouldn't go for it. So she says. So we want to expose that. Then she's probably not the only one. So if she doesn't like our first presentation, all right, we want to eliminate the school taxes, property taxes for everybody, across the board. If she doesn't like that, what alternative does she have for us? We know this is going to be a challenge. We're not going to back down. And we're doing it for everybody. Republican, Democrat, this is a nonpartisan issue, really. So I do appreciate the opportunity to tell you. I could go into a lot more details, but I don't want to overwhelm you with details. Anybody have any questions?
Does the current tax code in Ohio allow for municipalities to tax like cigarettes and alcohol and
Depending on the townships versus cities have different codes. The city can go with an income tax, a township cannot. We don't, and I'm in Concord Township, and it's primarily the property tax. You know the reason for the property taxes is because they're so definable. They know what the tax base is. And they know, as John and Leonard were saying, they can reverse engineer that. If they know what a school needs, they know what the money, the evaluation needs to be to generate that kind of dollars. So everybody would say, oh, no, nobody can do that. I don't believe anything these days.
So is your idea, if you do like a ballot initiative to eliminate property taxes, would that language also include the updates to allow townships to tax, or you just let the government figure that out later after the fact?
Yeah, we want to show them that we mean business. Now, what would be the pushback? Pushback would probably be from the school unions.
Yeah,
that's the huge, because the legislators, they're looking at the donor class. That's exactly what they're doing. We had a David Thomas, who is the new from Ashtabula, nice young man who used to be the former auditor, but I was told that as soon as he was sworn in, he had donors going into his office, because they wanted to make sure that those lobbyists. Story how I came up with the name Lobbyist for Citizens. It's a 501c4. When I was trying to educate myself on property taxes. I went to the state Department of Taxation, developed a little phone friendship, and as they were telling me things, he said, Brian, you wouldn't believe how many of these lobbyists are. Everybody's got a lobbyist. The only one that doesn't have a lobbyist are citizens. So that sort of rung true with me, and I said, why don't we become the lobbyists for citizens? That's how that's done.
Was the North ballot initiative that was attempted, did that fail because of the opposition to school districts, and what happened on that one?
Again, it's an education, I believe, it's an education problem.
Yeah.
And that's what our friend in Michigan is telling us. We've got to take taxpayers who don't even realize that if you vote for something at the ballot, it's going to impact your property taxes. So you've got that, you're trying to take them along to say, here's another alternative. So it is a bit of a struggle to do that.
Would you consider allowing the schools to tax property and nothing else? It seems like you'd have a lot easier road and accomplish a lot of goals.
I don't want to, really, my concern is, now I mentioned this to our administrator in township, he about grabbed his heart and said, Brian, you can't do that, because how are we going to survive? I said, send me a bill. It's not that I don't want to pay taxes, I don't want anything tied to my house. Yes, sir.
Senator Serino is your representative, right? You guys are up there. I would ask him next time. I was told that just 2 days ago, there was a presentation to every senator by a young man talking about eliminating the 20 mil floor, right? I think that's a big part of the problem with how, maybe you could talk about how the school districts are kind of gaming the system.
That's 100%.
To stay under, is it stay under or over? Under the 20 mil floor,
Well,
so that it keeps going up.
Yeah.
Could you just explain that?
It's
20 mil
what
floor?
it is. I'll try to do that.
And what that would mean if we were able to eliminate that?
Right. The 20 mil floor is incorporated with House Bill 920. And House Bill 920, I think, started in 1976. And the idea of the House Bill 920 is when, back in the 70s, when the home values were increasing, people were seeing increasing in property taxes. So the legislators, they said, well, every time the property values go up, let's take the millage rate and we will reduce it so that if you take the increased value with the reduced millage rate, you're collecting the same amount of dollars. But, as I said, this 20 mils is made up of inside millage and outside voted millage. For example, if your inside millage is 5 mils, right? As the House Bill 920 keeps knocking down the effective rate, the millage rate, if I get it down to 15 mils of outside millage, I add it to the 5 mils for inside, that is the 20 mil floor. And that's where now the 15 mils and the 5 mils, if 15 mils is treated like inside, what happens if you've got a 10% increase in the value of your home, you got a 10% increase in the property taxes for the schools. It's a direct relationship to that. So I didn't know about it, any meeting. I have heard other auditors say that House Bill 920 probably needs to be, totally revamped. And we would agree with that if, what I don't like is automatic increases. There's 600 and some school districts in Ohio, more than 50% are at the 20 mil floor. So that means as the property values keep going up, you're going to be paying more taxes, and substantially more.
And how do the districts, how do they manipulate it to stay under the 20 mil?
What they're doing is, emergency levies is a big one.
Yep.
All right, and the emergency levies are not subject to House Bill, 920.
Operating levies.
Yeah. So I read that what they were thinking about doing was taking the emergency levies and adding it into this whole House Bill 920, which would, create a problem, for the schools.
Which is probably what needs to happen.
I beg your pardon?
Which is probably what needs to happen, is to keep them from gaming the system, essentially.
Yeah. And Willoughby Eastlake's got, I think they've got 5 or 6 emergency levies. So you ask yourself, not going to be an emergency.
It's emergency plan 5 years in advance.
Yeah,
every 5 years.
They're renewable emergencies too. They renew them.
Yeah.
Right, there's one thing I want to make clear to a lot of people, because we talk about education, but I don't think people really understand what they say when we say this, what that means. You got to remember, we have a very serious combination of what I call abnormalities in our society. We're ungodly, we're uneducated, and you got an impotent church. That's a recipe for disaster. So when we tell people about the schools, remember that we were going out trying to get petitions, and the guy said, well, no, I want my home values to go up.
Yeah, that was another thing.
This is what
we gotta vote for the school levy so that my home values will keep going up. And I said, they don't understand the whole process.
This is from the real estate industry, though. I put this on this. The real estate industry has a hand in this too.
100%.
Yeah.
And all these HGTV shows, Flip Your House and all this. This is fueling all this.
Yep.
People see this as the chip and whatever. This is all fueling this idea, like, I gotta have a valuable home.
Well,
For some reason.
Leonard mentioned, well, what's the role of government? I asked, should the government be involved in schools at all? And where is it written that I'm gonna pay for the education of somebody else's child? In my school district, Riverside School District, I've been in there 20 years, I paid $100,000 to that school, and I've never sent a child. How much more do they want? So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have an idea of what donor class means, but kind of fuzzy. Could you clarify what that means?
Yeah, the donor classes, they are, they're giving money to the representatives. That's what fuels our system for the representative. That's how they get reelected, by having more money. So a lobbyist for energy company or the schools, especially the schools, they will give the representatives and the senators money so that they can spend it on their next campaign. So that's why I say the donor class. The donor class is for the representatives, for the legislators, so they use that money to get reelected.
But it's not just the school, it's primarily the school union. It's the teacher union that's driving all this.
100%, well, the
And
teachers.
they're not only that, they're driving almost all the problems with this, not just the tax money and all this, all the crap we see.
Yeah, I agree. It's a nice scam they've got going there. They get more money to the teachers, but then their dues go up, and that money that the union collects from the dues fuels the
Politicians.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, I have 3 prongs. So number 1, I encourage everyone to try to meet with your state rep or state senator, because you'll see it's really hard to get a hold of them. They will ignore you, but then when I go down, because I go to the State House about once a month, I see OEA, for those of you who don't know, Ohio Education Association, lobbyists swarming every floor. And I've had people tell me, senators and reps tell me, we take OEA lobbyists before we take citizens. They do not care. Now, in the Senate, it's different. You can walk right into someone's office. But in the House, it's like going through a obstacle course to get to your rep. And if you don't have an appointment, you don't get to see them. So I've been turned away. I've done impromptu visits and been told I need to go home.
So how many more years are we going to put up with that?
Right. No, and I get mad every time. But I was gonna say, I do. I get mad every time. But I was gonna say I have 2 questions. One is, why is Ohio? Because I've been trying to figure this out. Why is Ohio one of the worst states for property taxes? You know, I have friends in Virginia, I have friends in Tennessee, I have friends all over. I have my brother-in-law and his wife live outside of Manhattan, and their property taxes are similar to mine. So I've been trying to figure out how we got into this sticky mess of Ohio being terrible.
It's the growth of government. I just took my experience in Lake County, and I've been railing against. There's something called the Budget Commission. Budget Commission is made up of the treasurer, the prosecutor, and the auditor. I view their role as supposed to be the watchdog for the taxpayers against the taxing authorities continuing to collect more money. Unfortunately, in Lake County, the auditor has made a ruling that a Supreme Court decision precluded the Budget Commission from changing any outside millage. Now, what does that mean? We have taxing authorities like our Deepwood Center. We got $65 million. We got Lake Metro Parks that accumulated $30 million. So and we got a crime lab with a prosecutor, he's got $8 million, and I said, well, why did you ask for, a $4 million levy if you only needed 3? His response, now I don't have to go back to the taxpayers for 15 years. He was telling me as though that was a plus. I said, well, that's not a plus. You've got to go back to the taxpayers and justify your existence no more than every 5 years. So we've let them get away with everything. And they don't like it. When I'm out there and I place a lot of public records requests, and what I do, again, with my background in accounting, I look for 3 years worth of financial statements, and I try to see a trend. We've got a Lakeland Community College out there. They get $20 million from the taxpayers. They drove it into the ditch. They had 10,000 students in their heyday. They now only have 4,400. It's like a ghost town, but they continue to get $20 million. I said, why don't you combine Lakeland with this vocational Auburn Career Center? Auburn Career Center keeps building and building. And we got half of Lakeland Community College empty. There's no one that's looking out for the taxpayer. No one. So it is a constant challenge, but we're going to keep it. Hopefully we've educated you a little bit. What we'd like to do really is, as we go forward, Liz, with our constitutional amendments, we'd like to let you know, keep you posted of what we're doing. We are working with Sarah Wolf in the Cincinnati area. Canton just called me a couple days ago. They want us to come down and talk to them. We're using a group called Lake County Liberty Coalition. I happen to be the president of that. We're going to use that as a tip of the spear. So that's Nancy Marr. That's correct, Nancy Marr.
I just put that together. I know your wife.
Yeah. So the idea, though, is to get like-minded people. I know that's always tough. Three of us can't agree on everything, but we think it's important that we educate the people, and because we're doing it for them. So I appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Stop Property Taxes, is that a website or a Gmail address?
That's Stop Property Tax is a Gmail address. The Lobbyist for Citizens.com.
Okay, so that's
That's my website. Then I'll post all the videos and.
But the Gmail, Stop Property Taxes, is if you want to email me.
If you want to email me, I'm getting so many on my Lobbyist for Citizens. It's a little tough to keep track of it. We've been trying to figure out what's in the other vehicle that we can use to talk to people. We got a podcast. You and I can do a podcast, okay, and we can talk about what's happening in your area. We can create an MP4 file, and you can pass it around to people in Lincoln County, and we'd be glad to do that. We even came up with animated videos. Taught myself how to do animation videos if that is something that can get the message out to people. So we're trying to think outside of the box and how we can get this message across. As Leonard says, it may not happen in a lifetime. That's okay. We know it's right.
So people could repost the animated videos. I watched one, it's really good on their Facebook page or something.
Yeah, you can. And again, anything on my website, I tell everybody, it's all free. I mean, I don't charge anything, and you don't have to subscribe. If you like it, you want to use it, and it gets the message across, please use it.
Goodbye.